Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining the PACE Financial Aid Department and Office of Undergraduate Admission. We're going to be going through how to file your free application for federal student aid, more commonly known as the FAFSA. My name is Morgan, and I'm an admission counselor in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. Before we get started, I am going to go through some quick information just to help you get the most out of your experience this evening. This event is all about you, and part of that is answering your questions. So as we're going through this, you'll see that your microphones have been muted, your cameras are turned off, but we still will be answering questions in the chat. So we have two staff from the financial aid office who have been joining us, Tamisha and Dan, who will be answering questions in the chat along with myself when we get started. I would also recommend just keeping an eye on the chat box. Even if you haven't asked a question, it's going to be going through a lot of valuable and relevant information, and it's very possible we'll be answering questions in there that other attendees were asking as well. We're expecting a very busy event tonight, which means that there may be, if there's a lot of questions coming in, a possibility we might not get around to all of them. If that happens, rest assured we will be following up in the next coming days to make sure we answered all the questions, and if we didn't, we'll be sending you a message to answer that question for you. We are also recording this event, and it will be made available after today on the PACE YouTube page. So if you're taking notes or if you missed some information, there's no need to worry about it. We'll provide you with our contact information, and you can always, again, find this on YouTube after today. At this point, I'm going to be turning this over. We have the wonderful Cassandra Carney from our financial aid department, who's going to be going through some information. And you might see me at the end when I do some closing up. But at this point, I will turn it over to Cassandra.
Thanks, Morgan, so much. My name is Cassandra Carney. I have worked at PACE for a little over 10 years now. I'm one of the assistant directors here, and I am located on the Pleasantville campus. Today, I'm going to go through with you pretty much step-by-step screenshots of how to file your FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. This is our addresses for our financial aid offices located in New York City, the 156 William Street, and this is our address for the Pleasantville campus. I recommend that if you have not visited our campuses yet, to take opportunities to visit our campuses. I am located on the Pleasantville campus in Westchester. Both campuses are both so beautiful, and they both have very unique keys to themselves. Tonight, we're going to talk about just some things that you would need to have on hand before you file your FAFSA. We're going to actually go through the free application for federal student aid. We're going to talk about special circumstances, kind of get into a brief discussion on what is financial aid and what it makes you eligible for FAFSA, and some frequent errors that we have that occurs. This is a great checklist that we have for our students to prepare themselves to have on hand before filing the FAFSA. For students who are attending, who are seniors this year, you are going to be filing the 2021-22 FAFSA. You're going to want to have your parents and yourselves federal 2019 tax returns on hand. So again, we're going off of prior tax year. This is pretty new in the last couple of years. So by the time you guys file your FAFSA, you should have your federal taxes already filed. You're going to need to create an FSA ID, which we'll talk about in just a few moments. You're going to have your driver's license, email address, social security number, date of birth, all that information. We're also going to be discussing some key information about your parents. So I do recommend that if you're able to sit down with your parents and guardian, to do this together with them. So this is a process for both of you, and I recommend that you have your parent to help you. Prior to filing your FAFSA, you would need to create an FSA ID. The FSA ID allows students and parents to identify themselves electronically to access the federal student websites. An FSA ID is made up of a username and password and can be used to log back in to the actual free application form, the FAFSA form. You only create an FSA ID using your personal information that is exclusive to you. And any parent who wants to also sign the FAFSA electronically, you guys would also need to create your own FSA ID. Some things that you would use the FSA ID for is when you would transfer the data retrieval tool from the IRS, and if you want to sign your FAFSA electronically, which is most recommended. Please note, the parent cannot use the student's email address or cell phone number that matches the student. The information must be unique to that parent, and both parent and student must have a valid social security number on file to create an FSA ID and to file the FAFSA. And for parents who have multiple children, twins, triplets, one parent FSA ID is required, and it is good for all of your children. So this is the website, www.fsaid.ed.gov. You can also, if you started the FAFSA, pull up your FAFSA, you can find the information here to create it. In the last about 2 years, a brand new way to file your FAFSA is through our mobile app. So you can file online at FAFSA.gov or through our mobile app. You can download the My Student Aid app and complete the FAFSA on any device, your computer, tablet, whichever you choose. You can also switch between devices, either using the mobile or web, to complete the form. We recommend for you to keep this app on your device to have access to really good financial tools throughout your college career. The mobile app is also not available until December for 21-22 FAFSA. If you click on the mobile app, it's going to redirect you to the FAFSA website, and it will be available early December, but the website is up and running. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory here. You are the parent, I am the student. You would put in your FSA ID, so forth here. The most important part is choosing the correct school year for the FAFSA. So like I said, if you are a senior this year, you can file your FAFSA as early as October 1st, and you want to make sure that you have the correct FAFSA. Over here on the right is the prior school year for students who are already a freshman here at PACE. The priority deadline to file your FAFSA is November 15th for priority aid. Sometimes aid could be exhausted after November 15th, but don't worry if you're transferring into college and you did not file your FAFSA by this deadline. It's completely okay. We accept FAFSA applications throughout the academic school year. When you log into your FAFSA, it's also going to have you create a save key. The save key is if you want to, it allows you to return to an application or make a correction later from the point that you left it. Or if you need to stop for any reason, you can save your work. It also allows you to share the access with the FAFSA application or update a correction with your parent. So say you started the FAFSA application and your parents at another location, they would sign back in and they would ask for this save key. Share your save key with your parents, but no one else. Don't use your birth date as the save key. And most importantly, this is not to be confused with, excuse me, the FAFSA ID. Okay. So I just want to point out here at the top of the FAFSA, we're going to start inputting our information. As you go along your journey of filing the FAFSA, it's always going to say personal information for. So right here, it's going to say the student. And then I'm going to point out later where it says parent. So as you're filing the FAFSA, you want to make sure you're putting the name, first name and last name as it appears on your social security card or permanent resident card. Please do not use nicknames or abbreviations. It has to be the name that was given to you on your social security card, permanent resident card. No punctuations, and only use a hyphen if there's one on your card. And please use your complete address, birth date, and social security card number. So again, I'm going to point out up here for student. You want to use your current mailing address. This is very important just in case there needs to be a communication to the student. And you want to use an email account that you have easy access to. Do not use your high school given email. Sometimes after you graduate, your email address could be inactive after high school graduation. So I suggest that you, if you do not have a personal email account, create a professional personal email account to use to file the FAFSA. And of course, down here, you can see, just add in your zip code and the email address. And again, please don't use your name or date of birth for your password. High school completion. For seniors who are have never attended college, if you're taking AP exams, you want to make sure that you enter first bachelor's degree and that you have never attended college. If you are interested in work study, I suggest that you click yes. Here at PACE, federal work study does not come off of the cost of tuition. However, the student has the opportunity to work on campus and earn 2 paychecks a month. So if you are interested in learning about work study or being offered work study, I would suggest the student click yes here. And again, for the college level, entering is never attended for college, and you're going to be working on the first bachelor's degree, and you want to indicate the high school diploma is the degree the student earned. Even though the students haven't graduated yet, that still will be what will be earned. And again, even if you took AP exams, you do not have to include that here. You're always a first year, never attended college first year. When you answer the question for the gender, if you choose male as your gender, males between ages 18 and 26 must register in order to receive financial aid. It is the gender assigned at birth is what determines you to register. You would just simply put male, and it's a SMART question, so after you indicate male, it would bring you to this section. And are you registered with Selective Service? Yes, if you are. No. And do you want us to register you? And they will register you. The next section of the FAFSA is the section where you would put in your FAFSA school code. So we don't expect you to memorize our school code, but here we are if you're attending the New York City campus and the Pleasantville campus. However, if you do not have this easy access to our school codes, you can always indicate no. And right here would be the drop down that we are in New York, and it would show you the list of Pace University divided between New York City and Pleasantville. You can actually add up to 10 school colleges when you first file your FAFSA. And if you need to go back in, you can then add 10 more additional colleges if needed. The next section here would be your housing plans. I just want to show you the drop down here. It gives you 3 different options. On campus, that would be that you are a resident student and you'll be residing in the resident halls. With a parent, that means you would be considered a commuter student. And off campus, this is if a student is living in an apartment that is solely on the student, they would be still considered a commuter student. If the students needed to have a higher cost of attendance living in an apartment, say in New York City or in Westchester, they could always submit a valid lease to our office. I just want to point out that if you change your housing plans, it does impact your financial aid. So this section is really what drives us to change your cost of attendance. So if you are a resident student, your cost of attendance would be higher versus being a commuter student. We ask that from when you're changing from resident to commuter, there would be a reduction roughly about $20,000 in your cost of attendance. We always ask that you notify financial aid when you make the change, and you would have to update your FAFSA as well. On our next section here, this is information that would determine the dependency status, whether you're a dependent student versus an independent student. Again, these are all SMART questions is what the FAFSA refers them to. They're very specific questions geared to you. If you answer any yes to these questions, you would be considered an independent student. If you answer these questions no, you would be a dependent student and you must provide parental income. Right now, filing the FAFSA tonight, we're going to continue as a dependent student. And again, I just want to point out up here, we are still on the students, so it will always say student here. Special circumstances. So we always ask that you inform the financial aid office if your family has experienced any of these situations that impacted your family's income since 2019. Parents were divorced, loss of income, unusual expenses. Unfortunately, if a parent passes away, this will give you the option to explain your situation to the financial aid office. So this is just a quick reminder throughout the FAFSA. You're probably wondering about these question marks over here. If you were to click on the question mark, a little blurb would open up. So for example, this would be your date of birth, and you would have to, you're asking how to input your date of birth format. This goes for any questions. We are going to be going forward. We're going to be getting into the parental financial situation. So it does get a little confusing. So at any point throughout the FAFSA and you're stuck and you don't have access to call a financial aid office, always click on one of these question marks and it'll outline and really explain to you what the question is. Again, so now we're getting into the parent demographics. So I would like to point out up here again, it says parent. So when you're on the parent, you're going to be entering parents' information, not the student's information. I always recommend throughout the FAFSA that you hit save, just so you're saving throughout the day, throughout the time you're filing, excuse me. So as of the day that you file your FAFSA, what is your parent's marital status? So down here will be a drop down and it'll say never married, married, remarried, divorced, or separated. You would select your marital status of the parents from the drop down. And as of a point of clarification, I just want to point out, if one of your biological parents is divorced from the other parent, you will only need to report the financial information of the parent who you have lived with for the last 12 months. So again, if one of your biological parents is divorced from the other, you would only need to report the financial information of the parent who you lived with for the last 12 months. This is a SMART question, so it does respond to the marital status and they may generate additional information. If parents are separated, divorced, and you have a step parent who is married to the custodial parent, whose information you are reporting, you must provide the financial information about that step parent as well onto the FAFSA. Just for the presentation tonight, we're going to continue as a traditional family, as a two-parent household, and regardless of gender, you have to enter both parents' financial situation on the FAFSA. This is a wonderful diagram on knowing who your parent is when you are filling out the FAFSA. It's really important that you have the filing status of your parents outlined. It will show you right here, if your parents are married to each other, you would report both parents' income on FAFSA. I would like to point out the bottom here, the following people who are not parents unless they have legally adopted you. Please just take note of this. I'm going to just stay on this slide. Again, if you guys are having any type of questions, please utilize the chat. Both Demisha and Dan are the financial aid experts here, so please inundate them with any type of questions you guys have. Parent demographics. So again, I want to point out parent information. It says right here. So you're just going to enter the parent's social security number, last name, first name, date of birth, and the parent's email. Again, just like the student, you want to make sure that you're entering the parent's legal name that is appearing on their social security card and birth certificates. If the name includes a suffix as junior, you can include that with a space between the last name and then junior. So just like the student, you want to report it the same way. Please don't use any abbreviations. And a parent with no social security number, you should enter all zeros in the social security field, not your TIN number. Again, all zeros for the social security. Understanding who is in your household. So over here, it's, oops, sorry guys, you're going to indicate 2 for parents. You count the number of people living in your household, the home, yourself, parents, siblings, or relatives for whom your parents pay 50% or more of their financial support. For number in college, you want to count yourself. Also include any siblings who will be enrolled in at least 6 or more credits in college. And it's important to note that you cannot include your parents that are also attending college in this section. It is just your parents' dependents, so the children who are attending college in the household and at least 6 or more credits in this section. Okay, So this is the part that parents seem to get a little nervous at, but I promise you, this FAFSA form has just become so easy in the last couple of years. The great thing is in the last couple of years, we are able to successfully upload using something we call the IRS data retrieval tool. So by the time that you are filling out your FAFSA application, pretty much majority of everyone should already have their 2019 taxes filed. You would indicate which tax reform. So I always recommend that if you are going to use the IRS data retrieval tool, please always have your federal tax returns on hand, just in case the IRS could be down, there could be a glitch in their system, but for the most part, it is a very easy and successful tool. This is literally how it looks on the FAFSA. So you're going to input general information. And again, I would like to point out the question marks. If you are unsure of what you filed, you can click here. And as long as you have your personal 2019 tax return in front of you, this question, the answer will lead you to show you where you can find out on your tax return which return you filed. You would link it to the IRS here. It would proceed to this question, this site, I should say, and then proceed to the IRS site. I'm sorry, this is a little small here, but this is what it would look like when you get into the IRS data retrieval tool. Your information will be there. Again, you should have your tax return and your W-2s on hand with you when you fill it out, even if you don't plan on using the IRS data retrieval tool. If you or your parent qualify for the IRS data retrieval tool, I cannot express to you more than just give it a try. Even if you feel like you're not that techie, I promise you it's so easy. It links you right there. It will automatically transfer the necessary information from that 2019 federal tax return into your FAFSA. And the information will be there for you. So that is less of a headache, and everything is in there, and it'll successfully submit to our school. Just some tips for reporting the financial information. If you don't use your IRS data retrieval tool, the FAFSA is going to tell you exactly what line you want to look for on your 2019 federal return to find that information we're requesting. One thing I would like to point out here is, again, up top, parent income from work. Over here, it's going to say parent financials, and again, parent information. The way you started when you filled out the FAFSA for parent demographics, if parent 1 is Jane, please make sure that when you're reporting the information that you input parent 1 Jane Doe under parent 1 as well. So just be consistent throughout filing who parent 1 is and who parent 2 is. If you didn't file a tax return in 2019, you can refer to your W-2s for the income that you reported. If you have no W-2s, use the income estimator button to calculate your income to the best of your knowledge. If there is no income to report, simply put a 0 in the field requiring the dollar amount. Report the whole dollar amounts with no cents. Don't use commas or decimals, and don't leave a dollar amount field blank. You would just simply put in 0. Okay, I'm sorry. The next page, this is not for all families. This is specifically pertaining to families who have filed a Schedule 1. If you're not sure, make sure you have your, again, federal tax return nearby you when you are filing. It's very simple questions. Down here, I would like to point out, as of today, are either one of your parents a dislocated worker? Dislocated worker through FAFSA means that parents have lost his or her jobs. They are receiving unemployment benefits due to being laid off or losing a job, or they are unlikely to return to the previous occupation. So that's very important that you check the appropriate question here. Down here, it's pretty simple. You check all that requires to you. I do apologize. The bottom part here did get cut off, but there is a box right here that says none of the above. If none of these pertain to you, you would simply check none of the above. So again, Just to go through the dislocated worker, it's he or she who has lost their job. If you're receiving unemployment benefits due to being laid off or losing a job, or if you're unlikely to return to that job. I want to point out again up here, the parent information, and on the side, of course, are those lovely question marks that I keep referring to. Over here, it's going to ask you very specific questions. Pretty much the most popular that we have in here would be the untaxed pension, child support received from the non-custodial parent. I would like to also point out the tax-deferred pensions. The way you would find your tax-deferred pensions is on your W-2. It's box 12. Very important that you do not report the value of your retirement fund. You just report the pre-tax. Again, that is found on your W-2 form and box 12. And here are those question marks again. I can't stress this enough throughout your filing of your FAFSA. And again, just slowly sit here and read through everything that pertains to you. If it doesn't pertain to you, simply add a 0. Again, this is for parent information, as you can see over here. Still, we're on parents. These are parents' assets. As of today, does the total amount of your parents' assets exceed? And then you were to be able to list. It is very important that you do not report the following as assets: the primary home that we live in, the car that you drive, your 401k retirement, and a business with less than 100 employees, and a farm that you live on. Again, if you are unsure, you can always click on the question marks. You would click the next button. And as you can see, we have left the parent financial situation and we have now entered the student tax filing status. So again, you want to make sure that you report the whole dollar amounts with no cents. Don't use any commas or decimals. Don't leave anything blank. When you can input anything, please put in a 0. Again, just like the recommendation for the parents, you should have your federal tax return available and your W-2s when you fill out your FAFSA, even if you don't plan on using the IRS data retrieval tool. If you did not file, please indicate that you did not file. Down here, you can also, it's the same way as the parents, you could link to the IRS. Students would have to use their FSA ID to be able to link. If you did not file a tax return, but the student did earn a W-2 and not enough wages to file a tax return, you would just simply put in the wages here under the student tab. And again, we are in the student income from work. Same as the parents, the student mirrors the parents' financial questions as well. So as of today, you want to make sure you indicate what is in the student's information for cash savings checking accounts. You know, if the student has any real estate or anything, just information pertaining to the student. Again, if it's 0, you can put 0. For this particular student, they had $50 that we indicated here, and they reported 0 for the rest of this information here. Again, please take note to the student financial tab up top. And again, we're here in the student information. So you want to make sure that you are reporting everything under the student. Here is the FAFSA summary. So on this page, this is exactly what it would look like. And over here on the side, it will give you the eligibility to be able to scroll all the way down. So this is a long scrolling down, and it's everything that you filed. The great thing about this is if there's any errors that FAFSA picks up on, they're going to alert you here to let you know that there's an error, and you're able to go back to that specific question on where the error is to be able to correct it or update that question. So you want to make sure that you review your whole FAFSA summary and check for errors. Again, scroll all the way down and make sure you click next to get to the next section. Again, I would just like to point out that these tabs over here, it'll tell you it's the student demographics, parent demographics. And again, please review it before you proceed. Here's the signature pages. So both parent and student is required to electronically sign the FAFSA. If you used your FAFSA ID to log into the FAFSA form, the FSA ID, excuse me, to log into the FAFSA form, the information would already be here, and you would just provide the signature electronically and submit. Again, the parent needs to do the same. If the parent does not have the social security number, does not have a social security number, they have the option to click here. You can print a signature page and mail the signature page in. We recommend here at PACE, if you're able to electronically sign it, 99% of our families do so for the student and parent. Please make sure that you sign it electronically so it assures that we have faster processing times. We receive the application rather fast. Okay, so again, when I brought up earlier for parent 1 and parent 2, just please be consistent throughout filing of the FAFSA, because parent 1, you will be the parent that you have to use that FSA ID that you created that was unique to yourself. We recommend that both parents create their own FSA ID, so both parents are able to sign the FAFSA. It's going to allow either parent 1 to sign it. If parent 1 is not available at that time, parent 2 is of course able to sign it. Again, you can print out the signature page and you can mail it in. Here's 3 ways to sign the FAFSA. This is what it'll look like. It'll give you the option, sign electronically with that FSA ID, print the signature page, or submit without signatures. This option only allows you to submit the FAFSA without your signature, but you're gonna have to go back in and sign it. So say you created your FAFSA and you don't wanna officially submit it, excuse me, to the university just yet. You wanted to re-review everything with your parents. We recommend that you just save your FAFSA, go back in, review everything, and then submit everything at once. Make sure you utilize the Submit My FAFSA Now tab. Sometimes parents just feel that they signed it and then it gets submitted, but that is not the case. You must use the Submit My FAFSA. When you submit here at the end of the FAFSA, you have to do that in order to complete your process correctly. And of course, you'll be able to see, unique to yourself, the student and the parent that signed electronically. And congratulations, you guys have successfully submitted and filed your FAFSA. So here's your confirmation page that you would see. You'll see the date on top. It's going to give you some general information on what could happen. The SAR report, which is the student aid report, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. It is very important that you print this page for your own records. And of course, this is going to be also emailed to the student. So make sure the emails that you guys have on file is valid and you are checking it regularly. In addition, this would be the confirmation page up top, and right below it would be these 2 options. If you have lived in New York and you are eligible to receive New York State Aid, which is TAP, Tuition Assistance Program, you would click here, and some states provide the option, so you're able to transfer this information into the state aid application. The great thing is, parents, if you have multiple children, twins, triplets going into college, parents of applicants are offered this option to transfer the parents' data into the new FAFSA form for the additional siblings. I do want to point out that this unfortunately is the only time that you have that option to do that. If you are reporting filing FAFSAs for multiple children that night, you would only have the option to do it at that moment. If not, you would have to re-enter all your information. And down here, it would list the schools that are listed on the FAFSA. This is the student aid report, commonly known as the SAR report. It's going to give you, I apologize for the dates here, but it'll give you the date that the application was received, the process date, the EFC. I just want to point out over here, first and foremost, if you visit studentaid.gov, you can retrieve your student aid report. It will also be emailed to you, but you would log in and you would use that FSA ID again on the left, and you could view it or print it. We always recommend that you print, it's a PDF, a copy of this for your own records, just in case the school does not receive the FAFSA for whatever reason. You have a completion knowing that, and this information is here for you. I just want to point out over here this little asterisk, little star. This is just letting you know that the parent was selected for a verification process. This does not happen for every FAFSA. This is a completely random selection. It's a process that verifies information that what you reported on your FAFSA reflects what is reported on your 2019 federal tax return. Regardless of you using the data retrieval tool, you still would have the option to get selected for verification. About 30% of all FAFSAs are selected. Truly, out of 10 FAFSAs, about 7 of those FAFSAs would be selected for verification. If you are not selected, don't stress it, you're not selected for verification. However, if you have this little star, you would just be going through a verification process. It's a simple process through our university that you would have to submit some forms to verify that information. This is some things that may impact your FAFSA and aid eligibility. Confusing the parent and student information. So again, I really stress throughout this presentation up top, the student and parent. Just always make sure that you are aware of what you are filing as the student or the parent. You want to make sure that you're reporting the parent's information under the parents tab, student's information under the students tab. Entering information that doesn't match your FSA ID. So say your name doesn't match what you reported for the FSA ID. That could be an error that could pop up. Not entering parental information, not signing the FAFSA form, not filling the FAFSA out as soon as possible. The start, you can file as early as October 1st, and the priority deadline is November 15th. But again, like I said earlier, we would accept the applications throughout the year. And something that could delay your FAFSA when you start is not having that FSA ID created prior to filling out your FAFSA form. Just some things to expect after filing your FAFSA. This is the FAFSA timeline. You will file your FAFSA. Going off of this year, our new students who would be admitted into PACE this year, they're expecting to receive an electronic award letter from us pretty much like around the first week of December. So you can get your acceptance into PACE and your award letter the first week of December, as long as you filed a successful valid FAFSA. And of course, for students who are renewals, they could just go back in your second year when you become a sophomore or junior. Each year you have to refile your FAFSA. However, all information would already be, the demographics would already be in the FAFSA. You would just go back in and update the parents' financial situation and the students' financial situation. Here's some general eligibility that you would be able to have to receive any type of aid through the FAFSA. You must be a U.S. Citizen or an eligible non-citizen. You have to be matriculated, so you have to be in a program that's matriculated with conditions. For federal loan eligibility, to receive any type of loans through FAFSA, you have to be in a minimum of 6 credits, that's half time per semester, to receive any type of loans. You can't be in a default on any type of federal education loans at any that you received at any institution. So if you are in default on any type of student loans, this is really pertaining to students who come back to school graduate students. You have to, again, register with Selective Service, and you must be making satisfactory academic progress to receive any type of aid through FAFSA, which is SAP is our abbreviation. So you have to be maintaining a grade point average to be able to receive federal aid and to receive scholarships here at PACE. 95% of our first year students here receive financial aid, an average of $25,953. We are a very generous giving institution in what we offer for our undergrad programs. The cost of PACE education is a lot less than you think. By the time that you receive your financial aid award letter, I recommend that you look directly at the direct expenses here at PACE. The direct expenses include tuition, fees, and of course, room and board. And once you receive those information, you can safely deduct all the grants and scholarships that you receive here at PACE, and that could be a more updated figure on what PACE would cost. When you follow your FAFSA, students would be eligible to receive federal grants and institutional PACE aid. Work study and campus jobs. Again, work study here does not come off of tuition. I always tell parents and students to check with any type of outside organizations, your business, if the student's involved in any type of clubs, organizations, say an ambulance corps that they volunteer for, firehouse, check your house of worship to see if they offer any type of scholarships. Parents, check with your HR department if sometimes you could be eligible to receive a scholarship that could go towards students' books. Parents, if you are in a union, check with the union. There could be a scholarship available to your student. I highly recommend that you use the net price calculator. This is down here. It's a great tool for parents and students to just input some general information, and it's going to pretty much give you an estimated figure on what the students would be receiving here at PACE. That is the end of our presentation. This is our information here, our email address, our phone number, and our website. I recommend that you visit our website. It's a great tool. We do have some podcasts up there on our YouTube channel. This information will be available. Morgan can talk about it. I don't know if it's going to be emailed, or I think it'll be broadcasted on the YouTube channel for you guys. And I hope you guys bombarded Dan and Demisha in that chat, asking them questions. If there's any screen that anyone would like me to go back to, I'm going to go back to first and foremost, who is your parent when filing the FAFSA, because it sometimes could get a little confusing, but that's a great tool for you guys to have up. Morgan?
Great. Yeah, I'm going to jump in. So firstly, thank you so much, Cassandra, for great presentation, extremely helpful, very practical, good information that I'm sure is going to be helpful for a document that I'm sure gives a little bit of anxiety to some people. Thank you to Demisha and to Dan for answering questions in the chat. It was definitely very helpful to have them both in there answering questions. I know I would not have been able to do the job that they did, so thank you both for that too. So yeah, we hope you gained some valuable information on filing your FAFSA correctly, making sure you get the most generous financial aid package possible. Just so that you do know, we will be hosting another financial aid related virtual event on December 3rd, which is going to be called How to Read Your Financial Aid Package. So we'll be specific to the PACE financial aid package, but will definitely be helpful in giving you some of the terminology and terms that you might see in some other packages too. The registration for that is not on the website yet, but it will be in the next week or so. So just keep an eye on the website to find that that event. If you're looking for any other ways to connect with PACE, we do offer virtual information sessions almost every day. We have driving and walking tours of our campuses. We have more how-to webinars that we have been doing, as well as a lot of other events. I did post in the chat. We will very soon be hosting guided tours again on our campuses. They will be very limited, and it will be required that you register ahead of time on the website. But again, keep an eye on the website. If you go to pace.edu/fall events, you'll find a full list of everything that we're hosting, and you'll be able to register right there. So again, thank you again for attending. We hope that you got a lot of information about this. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we look forward to hosting you again soon.
Morgan, I just want to just chime in one more time. I've just was viewing the chat. I know we're getting a few questions about the FSA ID. I just want to really stress that both the parent and the student needs their own FSA ID. Consider this almost as a social security number. So every human has a social security number. Instead of using that when you log into your FAFSA, it would just be your FAFSA, the FSA ID. So it's unique to you. So mom, dad, and student. We recommend both parents, if both parents are in the household, that both parents have an FSA ID. If it's just a one-parent household, that's fine. Just the one parent then has the FSA ID. Some things that you would use the FSA ID for in the future is signing loans. If parents were to take out a Parent Plus loan, they would use to sign that, the FSA ID. So please have the student and the parent create their own FSA ID.
Thank you for clarifying that. Well, yeah, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day and your week, and bye for now.